Hello everyone. So today we will see the limitations of CFT, that is the limitations of crystal field theory. We have already studied the crystal field theory in which the ligands are treated as point charges in the case of anions and dipolar in the case of neutral molecules. Then the splitting happens, and then we have also seen the spectrochemical series. Okay, now we will see the limitations. There are mainly two limitations are there. One is the ligands are considered as point charges, right? You consider the ligand as a point charges. So the anionic ligand should exert greatest splitting effect. So if we consider the ligand as point charges, then the anionic ligand should exert the greatest splitting effect. But as we see in the spectrochemical series, what we have seen the anions like fluoride ions, chloride ions, etc. in the they are having the least splitting effect, isn't it? So but they are seen at the low end of the spectrochemical series. So the first limitation of this is the ligands are considered as point charges. Okay, now the second is the CFT, the crystal field theory, does not take into account the covalent character of bonding between the ligand and the central atom. So this is the second limitation, which means this has the bonding between the ligand and the metal atom has got somewhat a covalent character, but that is not explaining in the crystal field theory. So two limitations are there. First limitation is the ligands are considered as point charges, and second is it does not take into account of the covalent character of bonding between the ligand and the central atom. And as you know, the merits of this is it explains the formation of the coordination compound, it explains the structure of the coordination compound to a greater extent, it explains the color. And you know, yesterday I have told you about the color. It is of the T2G EG transition, isn't it? The color is mainly due to this T2G EG transition. You know, anhydrous salts or anhydrous compounds have a colorless or white in color. For example, in copper complexes, the anhydrous copper sulfate is white in color. So if water is added, then it will have a blue color, which means that the transition is from T2G to EG transition. So color is explained by the crystal field theory. Then the magnetic property is also well explained by the crystal field theory. So these are the merits of the crystal field theory. Okay, so the crystal field theory is get over. Now we will move on to the bonding in metal carbonyls. You know, metal carbonyl is also a complex, isn't it? Metal carbonyls means what? It is a complex. Now, for example, metal carbonyls, homoleptic carbonyls. Homoleptic means what? Homoleptic means the ligands are same, isn't it? Heteroleptic means the ligands are different. So in homoleptic carbonyls like NiCO4 times, see NiCO4 4 times if I draw, listen, if I draw, it is a homoleptic because the 4 molecule is carbonyl group. So it has got a tetrahedral shape. So how the tetrahedral shape goes? That is, the nickel is at the central metal atom, and the tetrahedral means the carbonyl group is here, then it will be here, then it will be here, and the tetrahedral shape it will be the here. So this is the structure of the carbonyl, nickel carbonyl. Okay, now the bonding in the metal carbonyl, this is a tetrahedral shape. Okay, now you know that the homolytic carbonyls or the ligands is formed by most of the transition metals. Okay, and these carbonyls, you know, has got a well defined structure. Okay, so we have studied nickel carbonyl, we have studied is tetrahedral, correct. Now when you go to the iron carbonyl, see iron carbonyl, it is called as pentacarbonyl ion, isn't it? Pentacarbonyl ion 0, isn't it? The valency is 0. So we can draw, if you draw the pentacarbonyl ion is in the metal atom. It is a trigonal pyramid, right? Trigonal pyramid means the triangle shape and the pyramidal shape, correct? So one carbonyl here, one carbonyl here, other carbonyl here, next carbonyl here, next carbonyl. So it is a trigonal. Why I call it as trigonal? If you draw a triangle, see if you draw a triangle and a pyramidal. So this is equatorial bond and this is the axial bond. You know it. Okay. So this is the structure of a iron. That is the, what is the name of this compound? This is called as pentacarbonyl iron and the coordination number is 0. Correct. Now if you say the chromium carbonyl, okay, that is hexacarbonyl chromium 0. How can you draw the structure? You know the octahedral structure means 6. So we will write carbonyl 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6. So sorry, this is chromium, this is carbonyl and the 6 carbonyl is in an octahedral structure. Correct? Okay. Now the next compound is Mn twice CO10. This is called as decacarbonyl dimanganese 0. What is it called? It is called as decacarbonyl. Decacarbonyl means why decacarbonyl? Because 10 carbonyl group is there. Correct? So it is called as decacarbonyl chromium. Chromium is the metal, central metal and 0. That is the oxidation number is 0. See, we will see it is made up of this decacarbonyl chromium compound is made up of 2 square pyramidal MnCO5 units. See, it is made up of MnCO5 units, 2 MnCO5 units. It is made up of 2 MnCO5 units. That is 2 square pyramidal. So there is a bridge. The peculiarity is that this compound, these units, the 2 square pyramidal units is joined by an Mn bond. See, an Mn bridge is there. An Mn bridge is there. Can you see this? Okay, Mn bridge is there. Then a square pyramid. So here 1, 2, 3, okay, 4 and 5. Okay, that is MnCO, 5 units for 1. CO, 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 CO and CO. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now here also the same thing happens. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it is CO, 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 CO. Now you see this unit. This is a 1 MnCO 5 units. Correct. And this is another MnCO 5 units. The 2 MnCO are connected by a bridge. Mn bridge. Okay. So it is joined by an Mn bond. Correct. So this is again the bonding in metal carbonyls. Okay. This is about some of the examples of homoleptic carbonyls we have to see. Correct. Okay. Now we have to do a very important bonding in metal carbonyls, and that is called as synergic bonding. What is it? Synergic bonding. Okay. Now we will see how the synergic bonding goes. Okay. Now this is the metal atom, central metal atom, and this is the carbonyl group, that is a CO group. Now we will see how the bonding takes place in this metal as well as the carbonyl group. Okay, now the metal carbon bond, okay, this metal carbon bond in this metal carbonyl, it possesses both S character and also P character. Okay, so this metal carbonyl bond, this MC bond in metal carbonyl will possesses both this S character as well as the P character. Okay, now listen, there are two types of bond in here. One is a metal carbonyl sigma bond is there. See, in this first one is a metal carbonyl sigma bond and other is a metal carbonyl pi bond. Very important. There are two types of bond in this metal synergic bond. One is this metal carbonyl sigma bond is there and the other is metal carbonyl pi bond is there. Now we have to see how this metal carbonyl sigma bond is formed. See, metal carbonyl, this is a sigma bond. Okay, now this is a sigma bond. See, this is a sigma bond. Now how this will form? From the diagram, listen to just see the diagram. This is the carbonyl orbital, correct? The carbonyl orbital is this and this is the metal orbital. Now how this metal carbon sigma bond is formed? The metal carbon sigma bond is formed by, see how the arrow goes, it is like this, towards the metal atom. So the metal carbon sigma bond is formed by the donation of the lone pair of electrons of the carbonyl carbon. Very important. See, this is the carbonyl carbon. There is a lone pair of electrons in this, and this lone pair of electron is donating this pair of electrons to the vacant orbital of this metal. Clear? So, the metal carbonyl sigma bond is formed by the donation of the lone pair of electrons on the carbonyl carbon into the vacant. See, this is vacant. The vacant orbital of the metal. Clear? So, we can say how the metal carbon bond is formed by metal carbon bond is formed by the donation of the lone pair of electron of whom? Of carbonyl carbon, okay, lone pair of electrons from of the carbonyl carbon to the vacant orbital of metal. See, vacant orbital of metal. This is very important. Synergic bond is always is asked for the examination, board exam. So you have to specify these two. You have to draw a diagram regarding this synergic bonding, and you have to specify the value points. That is, there are two types of bondings are there. It possesses this metal carbon bond possesses both S character as well as P character, and there are two types of bond. One is metal carbon sigma bond and other is the metal carbon pi bond. Now, how the metal carbon sigma bond, see in the diagram. In the diagram you can see this is the sigma bond. Now, how it happens? There a lone pair of electron is there in the carbonyl carbon atom, the CO group. See, this is the MCO. See, this is the MCO, metal carbon, and this carbon atom in the carbonyl carbon, carbonyl means CO. In the carbonyl carbon atom, there is a lone pair of electron, and this is donating this lone pair into the vacant orbital of this metal. That you have to specify. See, so you have to write the lone pair of electrons on the carbonyl carbon atom to the vacant orbital of the metal. Thereby, the MC, that is a metal carbon sigma bond, is formed. Is it clear? Okay. Now coming to metal carbon pi bond. Metal carbon pi bond is the donation of how the pair of electrons from whom, see, this is the pi bond. So, it is from the metal orbital, isn't it? That is a metal orbital. So, we can say the donation of a pair of electrons from a filled d orbital. See, this is the d orbital. See, this is the d orbital. So, from a filled d orbital, there is a lone pair of electron, and that lone pair of electron is donating it into what? The vacant anti-bonding. What is anti-bonding? Pi star. The vacant pi star orbital of the carbonyl carbon, making that as a pi bond. See? So you have to specify it. So how will you write? That is the donation of a pair of electrons from how a filled d orbital, isn't it? Filled d orbital of metal to, very important, to what? Into the vacant anti-bonding. That is very important. That is pi star. The anti-bonding pi star orbital, anti-bonding pi star orbital of this CO. It's very important. See, from the diagram we can say, if you have to draw the diagram and then you have to specify the sigma bond as well as the pi bond. Is it clear? Now, how the sigma bond, the first value point is it has got both S character as well as the P character. Clear? Then the second point you have to see, there are two types of bond. One is a sigma bond and other is a pi bond. Now, how the sigma bond happens? How the sigma bond happens? That is, there is an M carbon, that is metal and carbonyl. The M carbon sigma bond and the M carbon pi bond. Now, how the M carbon sigma bond is formed? That is the donation of the lone pair of electrons of the carbonyl. See, this is the carbonyl carbon. There is a lone pair of electrons in this carbonyl carbon. Now, what it will do? It will give to the vacant orbital of the metal, the vacant d orbital of the metal. But in the case of metal carbon pi bond, see, this is the pi bond. Here what it is doing? The filled metal d orbital, see, this is the filled metal d orbital. The electron is donating to the vacant, what type of orbital? Anti-bonding pi star orbital. You know, pi star, pi, then pi star, then sigma, sigma star, all you have studied in the MO theory last year, correct? So, the donation of the pair of electrons from filled d orbital of the metal atom into the vacant antibonding pi orbital of the carbon monoxide. So is it clear? This is very, very important. So the metal to ligand bonding. Now why it is called as a synergic bonding? It is called as a synergic bonding because this metal carbon, this metal to the ligand, that is the metal to the carbonyl. Carbonyl is the ligand. So the metal to the carbonyl, or the metal to the ligand bonding will create a synergic effect. Synergic effect means strengthening, the strengthening of that metal carbon bond. So it creates a synergic effect which strengthens the bond between the CO and the metal. So the value point must be there, that is a synergic effect. So a synergic effect is seen, correct? A synergic effect, what it will happen, it will strengthen, that is the again next value point, it will strengthen the bond, it will strengthen the bond between the metal and the carbonyl. So this is about the synergic bonding. So once again I will tell you what is synergic bonding. Synergic bonding means it is nothing but the bonding which takes place in metal carbonyls, and in that case this metal carbon bond, see, this metal carbon bond will possess an S character as well as a P character. There are two types of bond, one is sigma bond and the pi bond, that is metal carbon sigma bond and metal carbon pi bond. Now how the metal carbon sigma bond is the donation of the lone pair of electrons of the carbonyl carbon into the vacant metal orbital, isn't it? The vacant orbital of the metal. The metal carbon pi bond, that is the filled orbital of this metal is donating that electron pair to the vacant pi star orbital, antibonding orbital of the carbonyl carbon, making it a pi bond, correct? Now this has got a synergic effect, that is the metal ligand creates, the metal ligand bonding will creates a synergic effect. That means which strengthens the bond of the metal carbon bond. So this is all about the bonding in metal carbonyls. Okay, hope you are clear with the synergic bonding. Okay, now the last session in this chapter is what is called as the stability of coordination compounds. What is it? The stability of the coordination compounds. Okay, what do you mean by the stability of these coordination compounds? Coordination compounds means they are in the aqueous solution or in some solvent they are having it. Okay, now the stability of a coordination compound simply refers to the degree of association. What is it? Degree of association. Degree of association between the two species involved in a state of equilibrium. Now, what do you mean by in a state of equilibrium? For example, I am giving an example, means metal plus, if it is a tetrahedral, 4 ligands are there, correct? The metal plus 4 ligands in an suitable solvent in equilibrium, it will give Ml4. Isn't it? It will give Ml4. That is what it is called as the degree of association. It is associating and it is forming this complex, that is Ml4, because 4 ligands are there in the complex. Correct? Now the magnitude of this equilibrium constant for association is quantitatively express the stability. Okay, the magnitude means what? The stability itself will give you the magnitude or the value of the association. Okay, now larger the stability constant, larger is the proportion of this complex to exist in the solution. So larger the stability constant, then larger the complex will exist in this solution. Okay, now if you say, see, actually speaking, these free metal ions will rarely exist in solution. Rarely exist in solution means what? It doesn't exist as free ions. Always the metal ion, if the metal ion is in a solvent, always this metal ion is surrounded by this solvent molecules. Even though there is no ligand, the solvent molecule itself is accommodating in or surrounds this metal ion. Okay, but but so the metal ion will be usually surrounded by the solvent molecules, and when the ligand comes, see, when the ligand comes, then this ligands will, and this water molecules will compete with this ligand molecules L, and it's successively replaced by this water molecules. So that is how a complex is formed in a solution. So normally what happens, this M plus ion is surrounded by the solvent molecules. For example, if it is water, hydration, water molecules get surrounded, and if the ligands are approaching, the water molecules are get away with that, and the ligands are bounded to the metal ion. So we can say for simplicity, we generally involve these solvent molecules. Normally what happens, we will ignore this solvent molecule. So why? Because the solvent molecule concentration is nowhere in the picture. Correct. So we now for this complex we will write the following steps. First, what happens? First, the metal will ligand, the first ligand will attack the metal. That means it will clear out the water molecules from the metal, and it will form the first, that is Ml, the first complex. Clear? Now how will you write the equilibrium constant? K1 is equal to you know how the equilibrium constant is expressed. That is the concentration of the product by the concentration of the reactant. So concentration of Ml by concentration of M into concentration of L. Is it clear? Okay. Now what happens? This Ml, you have Ml in solution, plus the second ligand is approaching, and what it will form? It will form Ml2. Correct? Okay. Now what is the equilibrium concentration? Ml2. So Ml2 divided by concentration of Ml into concentration of L. Is it clear? Okay. Now the third again is what? Ml2 is in the solvent. So again another ligand is attacking, and equilibrium is existing, that forms Ml3. So K3 is equal to Ml3, the concentration of Ml3 into the concentration of Ml2. Can you see this? Concentration of Ml2 into concentration of ligand. Am I right? Okay. And the last one is this Ml3 plus the last ligand comes into this and bound with this and form the last molecule. See, we have said that M plus 4L will give you Ml4. So here the 4 steps and the 4 equilibrium constants we got, that is K4 is equal to Ml4, correct. So K4 is equal to Ml4, the concentration of Ml4 into the concentration of Ml3 into the concentration of the ligand. See, so these are the 4 steps which is involved in this equilibrium constant, or in the formation of a complex of Ml4. Okay, now we will say as, we can say K1, okay, we can say K1, K2, K3 and K4 are called as stepwise stability constant. So what you call it as? K1, K2, then K3, and stepwise, because it is a stepwise this thing, right? So it is called as a stepwise stability constant. See, you can call stepwise stability constant. Correct. Now, if K1, K2, K3, K4 are called as the stepwise stability constant, we can write the overall stability constant. That is, how will you write the overall stability constant? Overall stability constant can be written as, see, this is the main equation, correct. So that is M plus 4L gives Ml4. So how you can write the overall stability as beta. So beta is equal to, how will you write? Beta is equal to the concentration of Ml4, isn't it? By looking in this equation, that is the overall. In one equation we wrote this stability, the complex. The stepwise you have written in 4 steps. So the overall stability constant you write it as beta. So that beta is equal to Ml4, that is this Ml4 divided by, that is the concentration of the product divided by the concentration of reactant, that is concentration of M into 4L. So how will you write the 4L? L raised to 4. So this is called as the overall stability constant. Clear? Is it clear? So what is overall stability constant? Overall stability constant is the concentration of Ml4 divided by the concentration of M into the concentration of L raised to 4. Is it clear? Okay. Now we can say that the overall stability constant beta is equal to, you can write K1 into K2 into K3 into K4. in this reaction, you can say generally beta, that is overall stability constant, is equal to K1 into K2 into K3 into K4. So it is clear. Or if it is N, you can say, if it is N, you can say like Kn. Correct? You can say Kn. Clear? Okay. So this is how you find the stability constant. Okay. Now if you want an example, I can write an example. For example, you see Cu2 plus NH3. This is a complex. You have studied in the, I think in the D block element. That is copper plus ammonia will give you CuNH3 twice. Isn't it? 2 plus copper ammonium complex. Okay. Now what is the K1? If you say K1 is equal to the concentration of Cu into NH3 2 plus divided by the concentration of Cu plus into concentration of ammonia. Isn't it? Okay, now what happens? Again what happens? That is, this is only one ammonia. It will add two ammonia. That is Cu, next step is CuNH3, then 2 plus. Again reaction with ammonia in equilibrium will give you CuNH3 twice. That is 2 ammonia and whole into 2 plus. See? Now how will you write the equilibrium constant K2? K2 is equal to the concentration of CuNH3 twice 2 plus divided by the concentration of CuNH3 2 plus, correct, NH3 2 plus into concentration of ammonia. See, you got it? Okay. So if this is K1 and K2, then what is the overall stability constant? See, if this is K1 and this is K2. So K1 and K2 are called as stepwise stability constant, isn't it? It is called as stepwise stability constant. Clear? It is called as stepwise stability constant. So what is overall stability constant? Beta. Beta is equal to K1 into K2. Correct? So K1 into K2 is the overall stability constant. Is it clear? Okay. Now we will say, now we are considered the stability constant. Now there is another term which is called as instability constant. What do you mean by instability constant? As we said that stability constant means association of the molecule, isn't it? Association. Now what will be the instability constant? Instability constant will be the reverse of this, that is the dissociation happening, isn't it? Or you can call it as dissociation constant. Stability constant you call it as association or association constant, and the instability constant you call it as the dissociation constant. Now how will you define this instability constant or dissociation constant? That is, you can say the instability constant is defined as the reciprocal of the stability constant, isn't it? So if the instability constant is beta dash is equal to 1 by beta. That is, the reciprocal of this stability constant is the instability constant or dissociation constant. Clear? That is vice versa. Okay. So this much is this is all about the stability of the coordination compound, where you have studied or you have come across with the stability constant or the overall stability constant, as well as the stepwise stability constant, and also the instability constant or dissociation constant. So I hope you are clear with this session. And the next is importance and applications of coordination compound, which is deleted in this chapter. That for CBSE for this year, that is deleted. Okay. So by that, the coordination chemistry comes to an end of coordination chemistry. Okay. End of coordination chemistry. Now, in the next session, we will move on to the solid state. The last chapter in your textbook, that is the solid state. So that we will see in the next session. So till then, thank you.